best nightclub. Having Rob turn up on their doorstep made her joy complete. She'd wanted him for months to meet Jack and Dolores and all the rest, but coming all the way from Queensland, when everyone was penny pinching, would have been impossible. The men waited for her in the passage. Rob gave her an appraising look. "You've grown up to be quite a looker since I last saw you," he said with brotherly insouciance. "I bet Uncle Sal has his hands full keeping you out of trouble, from what he told me." Heat rose in her cheeks. She gave Uncle Sal a questioning glance. He'd promised to keep quiet about her and Jack Sullivan's part in a murder investigation earlier this year. He shook his head imperceptibly. Rob chuckled. "I can't wait to lay eyes on this paragon of yours, who's charmed my little sister and Mum at the same time. Uncle Sal tells me he is the whitest of men, but that I'll have to see for myself." He grinned. "I am the head of the family, after all." She gave him a fond box on the shoulder, wishing he'd hush his voice a bit, as a door opened and Jack stepped out of the room. He stretched out his hand and said, "I couldn't help but overhear that somewhat effusive praise. I hope you're not too disappointed." His sleepy eyes held a decided twinkle. "Not at all." Rob shook Jack's hand, faint colour rising in his pale skin. It made him look younger, more like an overgrown schoolboy than a fully qualified vet and father of one. Francis had to refrain from smoothing down his unruly hair. Jack said, "In that case, maybe you'd care to join us tonight for dinner, unless you've got other plans." "I promised Mum I'd spend the evening with her. Maybe afterwards?" "Fine." Jack stroked Francis's cheek with his thumb. "How did the rehearsal go?" Uncle Sal turned away from them as she said, "Why don't you watch us the next time?" "If I can. I've got a ton of paperwork waiting for me. See you later, kiddo. Uncle Sal. Nice to meet you, Rob." "Bye." Francis gave him a quick kiss on the cheek before she slipped her arm through her brother's. "Now, out with it, Rob. What brings you here? And where's Lucy and Junior?" He swung his suitcase in his free hand. No need to worry. I'm here for a job." "A job? But you've got one, haven't you?" Her heartbeat quickened. "Sure do. It's only, well, most farmers can't pay their bills, Francis, and some of them haven't been able to make a single payment since the end of 1930. So I've got a bit of time off the practice." She heard Uncle Sal whistle under his breath as she took in the implications. Rob put his suitcase down to pat her hand. "It's fine, Francis, honestly." They left the club through the back door. She blinked as the sunshine hit her. Not even noon, and already the heat settled in over the city. "Miss Francis?" Bluey hailed her as he followed them. "If you'll give me 2 minutes, I'll get the Ford." "Thank you," she said. "Bluey, this is my brother, Rob. Rob, I want you to meet Bluey. He's Jack's right-hand man and a good friend." The men shook hands, in that slow way they employed when trying to take someone else's measure. Francis smiled to herself. Rob hadn't acted like that with Jack, but then she couldn't imagine anyone doing that. Jack had the same air of easy command that Uncle Sal exuded on stage. Rob gave her a brotherly poke with his elbow as soon as Bluey was out of earshot. "I'm impressed with you folks. How the other half lives, eh?" "They work just as hard as you do," Uncle Sal said. "Probably harder, especially Jack." "Oh, I didn't mean to criticize, Uncle Sal. Surely you know that." Bluey drove up and pulled the car into the curb. Without asking, he stowed Rob's suitcase away. "Where to?" he asked.